This review is made possible by the Restored Rusty Relics Car Club of North New Jersey. If you're in the New Jersey or New York area, please check them out and consider joining the club. They do monthly events, meetings, and have formed a community around these awesome vintage cars. Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 1956 Plymouth Belvedere. Up front is a 4.5 liter V8, and down below is a 2-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Plymouth Belvedere because I've driven a 60s one, a late 60s Belvedere, and I've driven a 60s New Yorker, so I've driven similar vehicles, but never something quite like this. It's so special. This is such an amazing example of the 56 Belvedere, and we have tons and tons to talk about. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 277 under the hood, 277 cubic inches. I always say liters at the beginning of the video, just have some standardization for comparison's sake. But it is the second year that Plymouth was even offering a V8 in their vehicles. 1955 was the first year that they offered it, and they changed it up a little bit for 1956. Now this makes 187 horsepower. It's a dual barrel carburetor, and it is quite a little treat. You know, it carries this thing around, and it's actually quite wonderful. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 2-speed automatic transmission known as the Power Flight transmission. Now, this is also a push-button transmission, so there is no park. You pull the handbrake and leave it in neutral, which is a really interesting way of doing things here in the Belvedere, but this is what they did up through 1964. And when they added a 3-speed, they just added 2 more buttons for first and second gear. That's all that they did. Now, the transmission hasn't been super reliable. It's had to have been fixed about 3 times in the time that the owner has owned this vehicle. However, he has owned this vehicle for 52 years. He has owned this vehicle for more than half a century, which is amazing. Last but not least, of course, the Plymouth Belvedere is rear-wheel drive. So how does it feel to drive a Plymouth Belvedere? Well, it is sort of lopey and lazy, and it's not the fastest thing you'll ever see on God's green earth. However, that wasn't really the point. This was a more regal, a more grandiose sort of coupe at the time. I mean, look at all the chrome, look at the design, the canary yellow. So driving it is a very relaxed cruising experience. The steering is not very exact. It's a little bit of hand over hand going on and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's just unique to be driving a Plymouth Belvedere. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 3 gauges. Off to the left is my giant speedometer. Then I have my fuel and coolant temperature. Very basic stuff. Wipers and lights are found down below that as well. Off to the left, we have that push button shifter. Love seeing that in the car. So unique of the era, and something that we're just now getting back to in modern cars. On the door, I have the crank for the window, latch to get in and out, and a little smoker's window. That's it. Moving into the center, we do have a radio. This is the factory radio that has a search button, which is kind of interesting. That would sort of scan stations. Very cool to see. Off to the right, we have our heater and temperature controls, as well as a little Plymouth speaker and the lighter. This is interesting because in 55, these were actually the gauges over here. Why they decided to put gauges to the far right, I don't know, but for 56, they switched it to the temperature and heat. Then we have this little plaque that says this car was made especially for Paul. Now, they didn't do this specifically in 1956, but in 1959, they did it for 1 year only. When you bought the Fury Sport, it would actually give you a plaque with your name on it if you ordered the car. And so this was the owner's nod to that part of Plymouth's history. Moving down the center, we do have the glove box, as well as the aerodynamic styled 56 Plymouth matchbook. Really cool to see that piece of history. No center console, so no cup holders. The Plymouth Belvedere from 1956 fails the big friggin' bottle test, but everything from this era does. The seats are comfortable, and this is the original seat pattern. It has been reupholstered, but this is exactly how it came out of the factory, and I think it's one of the coolest parts of the Plymouth Belvedere. Just the intricate design is just so wonderful. They are comfy, and I have zero complaints about them. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, in the back of the 56 Belvedere, with the seat up, It's actually not terrible for being a coupe. 50s cars were actually pretty good about this. And so I'm actually very, very comfortable. I get to enjoy this really nice headliner. Seats are nice and comfy, and you know, the owner, Paul, raised his kids back here, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. So definitely very cool. I have my own crank down windows, ashtrays on either side, because you got to have that in the 50s. And overall, it's actually a pretty nice experience. Now, in the trunk, you will find the spare tire, but nothing else really beyond that besides these stickers underneath the trunk lid. Now, the first owner back in the late 50s put these stickers on. So these are genuine 1950s stickers, and since they haven't been out in the sun, they haven't really aged. So what a cool thing to see in the trunk of the Plymouth Belvedere. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this is finished in canary yellow with a jet black top. I love, love, love the look of it, and it's just so iconic. You know, looking at this car, this is a 50s car through and through, and you just love to see it. It is so pretty. I don't really have many words beyond that, besides it's just so handsome and all the chrome. This is really the showboating era of American cars, and you could see that through and through with this particular Belvedere. Something I do want to point out is that it does get a V up at the front because it is the V8. You could find these with inline sixes that wouldn't get that accent, and you do get the Power Flight badge at the rear. Now, this particular car didn't come with that from the factory because they stopped doing it about a month before this car was produced because the 3-speed was on the way. So they didn't want to advertise their 2-speed anymore when you could buy the 3-speed next model year. So kind of a fun little fact for you. But with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a 1956 Plymouth Belvedere? Well, it is nothing short of absolutely wonderful and whimsical. Driving this car is not driving an automobile. It's driving an emotion, and it's driving a piece of history. We were so drunk off of the excitement of our post-war America. We were on top, baby. We were an unstoppable industrial force. You could own your own home. You could own your own car. You could live and work a solid job and earn a solid living in the beautiful land of opportunity. And that's everything that this car encompasses. We were happy in the moment, and we weren't really worried about the future. In the 1960s, in the Belvedere video that I did from 67, I talk about how we were looking to the skies. We wanted more. You know, jetliners. We wanted to go faster. We wanted to go quicker. We wanted to go bigger. Well, in 1956, at least the vibe that I'm getting from this car, now I wasn't alive in 56, but the vibe that I'm getting from this car is that we were just happy where we were. We were in a good spot and sort of reaping the benefits of being in that spot. We had smiles on our faces, not because of what was going to happen, but what was currently happening. It seems as though people were living in the moment. This car was designed in the moment. And maybe that's not true. Maybe, I don't know. I wasn't alive at the time, but that's how this car feels. It feels solid in what it is. It doesn't have any insecurities. And what's funny about that is that this car was built for a moment, happy in its era, and yet it has outlived so many other eras. It outlived the psychedelics of the 70s. It outlived the big hair of the 80s. It outlived the tech boom of the 90s. It's still here. And the owner, Paul, has had it for 52 years. He raised his girls, and now he's raising his girls' kids in this car. Talk about taking build to last rather personally, and that's exactly what this car has done. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Paul for letting me take out his 56 Belvedere. What a wonderful piece of machinery. Paul has been so thoughtful, so thorough in letting me take this out. He's great, and I cannot thank him enough. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.